Welcome back to the best book ever. Last week, we met the family of Elimelech and heard what happened to them in Moab. Today, we're continuing to read about Ruth and Naomi. How will they survive in a land that valued sheep more than single women? Ruth, chapter 2, the Good News Translation. Naomi had a relative named Boaz, a rich and influential man who belonged to the family of her husband Elimelech. One day Ruth said to Naomi, "Let me go to the fields to gather the grain that the workers leave. I'm sure to find someone who will let me work with him." Naomi answered, "Go ahead, daughter." So Ruth went out to the fields and walked behind the workers, picking up the heads of grain which they left. It so happened that she was in a field that belonged to Boaz. Some time later, Boaz himself arrived from Bethlehem, greeting the workers. "The Lord be with you," he said. "The Lord bless you," they answered. Boaz asked the man in charge, "Who is that young woman?" The man answered, "Oh, she's the foreigner who came back from Moab with Naomi. She asked me to let her follow the workers and gather grain. She's been at work since early morning and has just now stopped to rest for a while in the shelter." Then Boaz said to Ruth, "Let me give you some advice. Don't gather grain anywhere except in this field. Work with the women here. Watch them to see where they are reaping and stay with them. I have ordered my men not to molest you. Whenever you are thirsty, go and drink from the water jars that they have filled." Ruth bowed down with her face touching the ground and said to Boaz, "Why should you be so concerned about me? Why should you be so kind to a foreigner?" Boaz answered, "I have heard about everything that you have done for your mother-in-law since your husband died. I know how you left your father and mother and your own country, and how you came to live among a people you had never known before. May the Lord reward you for what you have done. May you have a full reward from the Lord God of Israel, to whom you have come for protection." Ruth answered, "You are very kind to me, sir. You have made me feel better by speaking gently to me, even though I am not the equal of one of your servants." At mealtime, Boaz said to Ruth, "Come, have a piece of bread and dip it in the sauce." So she sat with the workers, and Boaz passed some roasted grain to her. She ate until she was satisfied, and she still had some food left over. After she had left to go and gather grain, Boaz ordered his workers, "Let her gather grain, even where the bundles are lying, and don't say anything to stop her. Besides that, pull out some heads of grain from the bundles and leave them for her to pick up." So Ruth gathered grain in the field until evening, and when she had beaten it out, she found she had nearly 25 pounds. She took the grain back into town and showed her mother-in-law how much she had gathered. She also gave her the food left over from the meal. Naomi asked her, "Where did you gather all this grain today? Whose field have you been working in? May God bless the man who took an interest in you." So Ruth told Naomi that she had been working in a field belonging to a man named Boaz. "May the Lord bless Boaz!" Naomi exclaimed. "The Lord always keeps his promises to the living and the dead." And she went on, "That man is a close relative of ours, one of those responsible for taking care of us." Then Ruth said, "Well, best of all, He told me to keep gathering grain with his workers until they finished the harvest. Naomi said to Ruth, "Yes, daughter, it will be better for you to work with the women in Boaz's field. You might be molested if you went to someone else's field." So Ruth worked with them and gathered grain until all the barley and wheat had been harvested, and she continued to live with her mother-in-law. How astounding is our God! It may have been normal in any of the surrounding nations for the poor and destitute to glean behind the harvesters, but here we find out about God's provision for the poor. Normally, the farmers in Moab would have harvested all the grain and then returned to pick up any ears that had been missed before allowing the poor to search for the rubbish they left behind. But God made a law, recorded in Deuteronomy 24, to ensure the farmers left enough grain for the poor to gather. The law was not give a portion of your harvest to the poor, but leave the gleanings and the grain at the edge of the field so the poor can work to gather the food they need. Or, to put it another way, show the poor respect by giving those who are poor through no fault of their own the opportunity to provide for themselves and their family with honor. We also see God's provision in sending Ruth to Boaz's field. As it states, in any other field, you could be harmed. Ruth is set in the time of the judges, when people did as they liked, and this included beating up and even killing foreigners, just because they were foreign. Thankfully, Boaz liked to obey God, and this included showing respect and humanity to everyone, even foreigners who may have otherwise had no help, protection, or legal status. I can't relate to this part of the story well, as I've never tried to live long term in a different culture where I need to change everything to be safe. I imagine it must have been as much of a culture shock to Ruth as if I were moved to China or Japan. What do you think? Please like, comment, subscribe, and share on social media to spread the blessing. I'll see you next time. God bless you.